Emergent light continues to illuminate our planet. Remember, we stream live on Rumble every day at these times. It's fantastic. We dive deeper. We have great guests. You will love it. And we upload our videos there first. So join us on Rumble every day. Now, have we got a story for you? So, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline has been sabotaged. NATO suspects it could have been sabotaged. In any event, it's broken. Does anyone in particular benefit? Well, it's possible that you could say that the Russians benefit from this situation because it exacerbates the economic conditions in Europe that are causing immense suffering and soaring energy prices. But there are also reasons to suggest that there could be American involvement. We are certainly not alleging anything on that scale here on this channel, but it is convenient in some ways for both sides that that pipeline is broken. Let's look at the case for Russia doing it, let's look at the case for America doing it, and then you, using your own intelligence and your God-given mind and your own eyes, decide for yourself what is the most likely course of events that led to the Nord Stream 2 pipeline breaking. I'm not even over Nord Stream 1 breaking. That's my favourite Nord Stream, baby. Let me know what you think in the chat, in the comments, and we'll solve this riddle together, so as we will. First of all, the first piece of evidence I'd like to present you with is Joe Biden in a rare, cogent public appearance last February saying this.
Let me answer the first question first.
Yeah, answer the first question first, Joe. Don't just wander off the stage. Answer the first question first, and then make sure, secondly, that you remember which country it is you're talking about.
If Germany, if Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again.
Right, now what you're doing there is you're over-explaining. I think we all know what a war is. We know what the word invade means. Invade? What do you mean by invade? It's because he's forgotten the names of the countries, Germany and Russia. He's over-explaining invade.
Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
Oh, okay. You'll bring an end to it.
How will you do that?
Yeah, how? You can't just bring ends to pipelines. I mean, what would you do? There's a pipeline. How'd you bring an end to a pipeline? You'd have to do something to the pipeline. What would you do, Joe?
Since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control.
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
The beginnings of a wry and villainous smile formulating on Biden's face there. Now, before you start asking yourself what occupies agencies like the CIA and FBI and all of the secret agencies around the world, Navy SEALs that do great, brave military work and undercover deep state stuff, before we get into the potential that they could be involved, and this is not something that I'm alleging, I'm just engaging in the possibility of it, let's look at the case for Russia as well, because we're not saying that Vladimir Putin's like some Mary Poppins, adorable, lovely geezer. He's clearly a bit leery. Let's look at the Russian case for sabotage. Putin's illegal war on Ukraine, that's an illegal war. Is there such a thing as a legal war? Oh, I like this war. This is in the bounds. Like the Iraq war, nice and legal. Oh, sorry, bad example. The illegal war in Ukraine resulted in unprecedented Western sanctions against Moscow, but the Russian president is confident these people can endure economic pain longer and better than Europeans. His calculation is that soaring gas prices and the cost of living crisis in a continent hopelessly addicted to Russian energy will turn the situation to his advantage. European gas prices have been dropping for the last 4 days. On Tuesday, after news of the suspected attack, they rose by 20%. The British price was up 33%. That establishes a motive. They could do it for that reason, and Vladimir Putin is a sort of mad barroom brawler, the type of lunatic that would bite off his own finger in a fight to show you how, you think I'm not crazy enough? Oh shit, alright, no, you win, just don't bite off any more of your digits. The Nord Stream 2 pipeline was filled with 117 million cubic meters of natural gas worth 213 million euros at current prices, but Putin is shown he's willing to sacrifice valuable gas and use it as a weapon. Russia was burning £8.4 million worth of gas a day at a plant near its border with Finland, rather than exporting it to Europe in August. I'd rather burn my gas than give it to you. I like the smell of my own gas. Good stuff. I'll do it. I'll fucking do it. Okay, so that's the case for Russian involvement. We've already seen Joe Biden saying, oh, We can do it. We'll blow up that pipeline. I got ways. I know people in energy companies in Ukraine already. I mean, I don't know anybody. Which way's off the stage? Which way? Hunter! When Russia invaded Ukraine on February the 24th, Washington was able to get Berlin to suspend the pipeline project that was about to go online, even though it wasn't in Germany's interests. The pipeline has remained closed ever since. Why then did someone attack the pipeline on Monday, releasing the gas it contained into the Baltic Sea? As long as the war continues, the US has what it wants regarding the pipeline. Interesting. It has what it wants. Later, we'll look at if there are any historic statements on this matter that could further point to US involvement. Also, I can't help but think that if this is Russian gas, couldn't they sort of turn it off at the source? I mean, I don't know much about sort of fracking and mining for gas and stuff, but if it's in Russia and it's being piped out under the Baltic Sea, couldn't they just go switch the old gas off? I mean, I know it's not a cooker, but you know. But ending the war and lifting sanctions would lead to the reopening of Nord Stream 2. 3 weeks ago, President Vladimir Putin told a press conference that Russia was ready to resume supplying natural gas to Germany if Germany lifted its economic sanctions against Russia. Putin said, if they need gas urgently, if things are so bad, just go ahead and lift the sanctions against Nord Stream 2 with its 55 billion cubic meters per year. All they have to do is press the button and they will get it going. Gazprom and Russia have always fulfilled and will fulfill all obligations under our agreements and contracts with no failures ever. I really enjoy this guy's videos. He's brilliant, isn't he? But wouldn't you like even more of him? As you know, we are streaming every day on Rumble at these times. Now, if you are a fan of our podcast, Under the Skin, you've got to become a member of Stay Free AF. That is our community where you get even more fantastic content as a member. We're creating more free content than ever and better paid for content than you could ever imagine. We've already done interviews with Vandana Shiva, Wim Hof, Gabor Mate, Noam Chomsky. Coming up, we're going to be speaking to Donald, Bernie, Elon. I'll give you the surnames once we confirm the interviews. All of these interviews will be available on Stay Free AF, as well as my stand-up special that's going to drop in December, our community film, and opportunities to join me for live events regularly throughout the year. Stay free as fuck. There's a link below to join. Now, before you allege anything as heavy as US sabotage of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, you'd need to know that there was a sort of historic understanding of that event. You'd need to know NATO would act more aggressively in order to impose sanctions and unify military action against Russia. You'd need to know that historically someone in a position of power had suggested that having North American gas and oil as the primary supplier of European energy was a desirable outcome. You'd have to know that pipelines between Ukraine, Russia and Germany had been under consideration in American foreign policy for some time. Here's Condoleezza Rice in 2014 saying some pretty interesting stuff about pipelines.
But now we need to have tougher sanctions, and I'm afraid at some point this is going to probably have to involve oil and gas.
Oh, this is interesting. Tougher sanctions that involve oil and gas. Keep talking, Condoleezza.
The Russian economy is vulnerable. 80% of Russian exports are in oil, gas, and minerals.
So they're aware of Russian vulnerability back in 2014. Wonder what was going on in Ukraine in 2014 if they're in line with NATO involvement.
People say, well, the Europeans will run out of energy. Well, the Russians will run out of cash before the Europeans run out of energy.
Yeah, but we're Europeans. Oh, my phone's not working. Sacre bleu! I'm out of croissants. Europeans are not as hard as Russians.
And I understand that it's uncomfortable to have an effect on business ties in this way. But this is one of the few instruments that we have. Over the long run, you simply want to change the structure of energy dependence.
Change the structure of energy dependence? Keep talking, Condoleezza.
You want to depend more on the North American energy platform, the tremendous bounty of oil and gas that we're finding in North America. You want to have pipelines that don't go through Ukraine and Russia.
But there is a pipeline going through. I mean, what would you do about that?
For years, we've tried to get the Europeans to be interested in different pipeline routes. It's time to do that. And so some of this is simply acting, and acting as quickly as possible.
Just good old-fashioned acting. Acting as quickly as possible. So you've just got Joe Biden saying, believe me, we've got ways of stopping that pipeline. And Condoleezza Rice, 10 years ago almost, saying that we want Europe dependent on North American energy. We can't have pipelines, and all of a sudden there's a little bit of a pipeline issue. Let's look into it a bit further. If momentum grows for a peace deal of any kind, it would ruin Washington's long-term plans to weaken Russia. There's no evidence to suggest that former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson was badgering Zelensky in Ukraine to delay peace terms. Oh, no, there's some evidence that he did, that actually Russia and Ukraine were on the brink of a treaty, then Boris Johnson did go over there. They've named a cake after him now, though.
It's called the Boris Johnson nuke, and here it's their bestseller.
If it was Russia that sabotaged this pipeline and not the US, how would NATO respond? NATO has warned it will retaliate against any attacks on the critical infrastructure of its 30 member states, as it suggested the Nord Stream pipe explosions could be an act of sabotage. The alliance said, all current available information, who's in charge of what information is available, guys, indicates that the damage was the result of deliberate, reckless and irresponsible acts of sabotage. Any deliberate attack against allies' critical infrastructure would be met with a united and determined response. Get ready, baby! I'm united! I'm determined! A peace deal would also mean Nord Stream 2 would reopen, which would help Germany and Russia, but crush US aims at regime change and making Europe dependent on US energy. Oh, you think just because America would benefit financially because Europe will be dependent on North American oil, and just because NATO would amp up their military attacks on the Russian region, and because it would prolong this war and create more profits for the military-industrial complex, and just because Joe Biden is on camera saying, oh, we'll do it, and Condoleezza Rice 8 years ago was saying, we'll have to do it, you thought because of all that the US could possibly have been involved in sabotaging the pipeline. We sabotaged that pipeline as a surprise for your birthday, and you've ruined it. All that gas bubbling up, it'll put a smile on your face. Who doesn't like a bubble bath? Even better, a bubbly Baltic Sea. Well, you've spoiled it. You're just like your father. So there you are. No one can say for sure whether it's Russian sabotage or US sabotage or simply a convenient accident. You can simply ask yourself, who benefits most from this situation? Whose aims are most likely to be met? Is it NATO's? Is it US aims? Does this somehow benefit Russia? I genuinely don't know. I'm not an expert in geopolitics and complex matters of energy distribution or long-term American foreign diplomatic strategy. These are not things that I'm an expert in, but I know you know a lot about it, so let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments what you think. You're able to decide for yourself. Or a further consideration is if you find censorship around these issues, that too should play into the information that you use when calculating for yourself what is the most likely outcome. Me, personally, I think it's important to remain unbiased, open-minded, and to consider all possibilities. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think in the chat. Have a look at either of these videos if you enjoyed this one. Sign up to my mailing list right now and watch us every day on Rumble. We stream all day unless someone breaks the pipeline, probably the Russians. I'll do it! I'll fucking do it, man! You can see us there every day at these times. Join us over there, but more important than any of that, please stay free.